All righty. And we are live. This is Locksmith Live, and myself, Wayne Winton, your host for the number one podcast for locksmith and security professionals out there. Today, I have my special guest, Kevin Boyd. Kevin, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Kevin Boyd. I've been a locksmith since about 2010. I bought a company up and really wasn't very solid, but we, after about, 10 years later, it's finally starting to turn into something definitely that's, worth keeping going and hopefully can keep it alive to pass it down to somebody. And the problem is employees.
Yes, and that is our magic topic for the day. Employees. So, how do we get them? How do we keep them? How do we retain them? There's a lot of information around that. And you and I had a conversation last week. We started texting over Messenger, and we kind of had some of the same similar ideas. We also have a similar background. If you want to tell a little bit about when you got started, how you got started, it's a very similar background to what I had. So I thought that our personalities kind of meshed really well together.
Yeah. So basically, I ended up going to a trade school, came out of there for electrician, got involved early on just by accident. The guy I was working for got picked up with ADT security to do subcontract work. And he started throwing me on the jobs by himself, and this is like literally right out of high school. He's throwing me on the jobs by myself, and I'm literally, I just graduated a year ago, if that. I shouldn't be on jobs by myself. But anyway, the guys at ADT noticed, and they said, "Why don't you either come work for us or start your own gig?" So I soon went into business at say 20, probably before I could drink, 20 years old. Opened up a security company, basically just doing subcontract work. And if you really look at my whole life, I've always ended up in the same place. Now I basically do about 99.9% national service provider work. I don't advertise, I don't market, don't really look for it, and I stay plenty busy. So the NSP is really my strong point, my strong suit. That's my niche. Haven't really explored. And I mean, I kind of started out with the residential market initially out of the gate, but it's very choppy, especially when you're dealing with the marketing and Google. I mean, all you guys are getting yanked. One week you got work, the next week somebody shut your advertising down, and you can't get it back for 3 months, and that's going to be difficult to keep crews or groups of employees going. I mean, that's crazy where you get turned off like that, where somebody flicks a switch and you're gone from the internet. So after kind of dealing with that a little, kind of tripped over the NSP thing and just kind of worked on that and kept going at it. And it's kind of a long-term play. It's not something that you have to kind of climb the list. So it's about running jobs, and the more jobs you run, you start to build relationships. And eventually, I mean, literally now I probably do like 5 to 10 jobs a day just with national service providers.
Right,
And
right. That's cool. And you like working with them. You like doing that more than like residential work.
I just found the residential, especially where you're a one-man show, two-man show, and I don't have an admin person. I was kind of like wearing every hat. So it's a lot easier for me to get a phone call from somebody I've been dealing with who just says, "Can you go do the job?" rather than 15 calls later, I got to get 16 prices. And then they say, "Can you come do it?" And it's like, I talked to you at 8 o'clock this morning, and now it's 3 o'clock, and you want me to come do the job for you. It's
Right.
like, yeah. That's kind of what I saw. Again, it was all right, but I didn't feel um, it was the most efficient route as a solo, business owner.
Right.
Um, and then what happened is I've become so strong in that community that I really don't have the time to go outside of it. Like every time, I mean, I was kind of hoping for a recession to happen, because I'm like, wow, if I slow down with NSP work, I could actually try and dig around in my area and see what the market's like, and see what I could pull for, whether it's more profitable. Because right now, I mean, I've already been to Boston. North Shore, all over Massachusetts. So like I travel, like I'm definitely not like in my neighborhood 5 miles away eating lunch at home. When I'm gone, when I hit the road, I'm gone, and I just bounce around and do a big loop and get back home by. I mean, I was home at like 3:30 today. I could have stuffed a couple more jobs in, but I didn't want to be pushing it and end up on the road with this call I had planned with you. But it looks like
Yeah.
it's going that direction anyway.
No, well, it's going to work out. We'll probably just have a little shorter episode today, and that'll be perfectly fine. Yeah. So that kind of gives people a little bit of background to about what you're doing and you know, the main work that you do. We also kind of started at similar times too. So give us a little idea about when you started and kind of how you started growing a little bit, and then what was your first encounter like with your first employee, and tell us some of those situations that you had while we've got you here.
So let's see. So first encounter with an employee, I actually got a cycling background. So I had stopped in a shop where I'd met a friend of a friend, and he was looking to get out of the cycling business. And I was kind of at the point going, wow, I could use an extra body. Or at least somebody to maybe help me develop this thing a little bit farther. Um, and he actually reached out to me a few days later after seeing him, and he's like, hey, what about, kind of, so I tried him out. That one was very short term. Didn't, not everybody's cut out to hustle, especially when you're in a retail background and you're in the same location day after day. Your hours are fixed. One of the big dilemmas with this job is you don't know where you're going to be, when you're going to be there. It just like, this business just flips like a switch. As soon as somebody has an issue, you're running out the door to try and hopefully solve it. So
Yeah.
that's not always compatible with everybody's lifestyle. That's probably one of the biggest things I found with most people is they want a 9 to 5 fixed job, and this job is completely opposite.
Yeah,
You're
when the phone rings, you got to go. You got to get up and you got to
it,
go.
it,
The
it
money's better, but in most cases, and you kind of alluded to that too. Like when you're an electrician, you're climbing on ladders. Guys are blowing their shoulders out. They're falling off of ladders. They're getting injured. They're getting hurt. These things kind of start to add up. I mean, I'm turning 40 this year. I'm obviously just had back surgery this year, so I know that my body's no longer invincible. And the locksmith career definitely has you can tell that it provides more longevity, and it seems to reap more rewards for the amount of time put in versus the electrician. Like we were talking about, hey, you're running wire, you're up in the attic, it's hot, it's 1,000,000 degrees, you're covered in insulation and itch, it's nasty, it's brutal. And the locksmith comes in and do screws in a couple strikes, trims it out a little bit, says cool, hands you an invoice for a couple $1,000s and leaves, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I saw. I that was one of my first encounters. I was doing a large system, and this was going back early card access days, and it was for a brand new bank they were building, an office building.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I first met a locksmith. I'm like, dude, what did you just do? And that was like, I spent all day pulling the wires from one end of the building to this side of the building for you. You come in here in 15 minutes and you're all done, and you didn't break a sweat. So I kind of built a relationship with him. I'm going to have to do the road thing now.
Yeah, go
Sorry
ahead.
about that, but
Do
I'm
what you
getting
got to do.
I'm getting
We'll try and
flagged
make it
down
work as
to
much as we
to
can.
head out. So I am going to jump in my truck and deliver a kid.
Yeah, sure.
So let's see. So
Just go
yeah,
ahead and
my
talk to
first
us.
run-in was with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And once I get my truck, I can step my phone in the holder.
Sure.
All right.
But
Okay, so
yeah.
backing up to the bank job, meeting the electrician. I mean, I was the electrician. He was the.
Oh, wondering if we lost you a little bit there. Did you disconnect from your Wi-Fi? We might lose Kevin here. He had to have an emergency meeting
Back there.
here. Yeah, you're back. You're back. I
All
think you
right.
just disconnected from your house Wi-Fi, probably.
Yeah, that's what my daughter just said. She's like, got to disconnect.
Yeah. So
Yes.
just back up one sec. Go ahead.
Yeah. So after, working with this kid for a few weeks, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty cool trade. You hit on all the things about, pays pretty decent. You're not beating yourself up every day. The downside is how do you get into it? And that's probably going back, I'm going to say that was probably in the mid 90s, like 95.
Right.
Um, I exited the electrical trade after the Great Recession. That's when I bought this small business up that I'm currently operating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I bounced in and out of it. I didn't go full one day. I'm a locksmith. I ran the electrical side by side for probably 3 years until I hit the break point where I thought I could make enough money every day to do locksmithing.
Right.
But the business I bought was kind of really weak. It wasn't solid. And I didn't have a locksmith background, so I got like 3 months worth of training and then, had to kind of use YouTube. And I think our path there was pretty similar.
Yeah, it was. It was. That's kind of what motivated me to get started with, making some of the videos and whatnot that I did is, how do you get started with it? I was running heavy equipment and my back wasn't doing any good. I was just running bulldozers and stuff all the time, and heavy equipment in the oil field just chews people up and spits them out. I mean, that's all there is to it. It just chews young backs up and spits them out. And I was like, hey, this looks like a good opportunity, but you're right. Where do you get started? You literally, somebody kind of had to take you under their wing at that point in time, and you had to learn. And I only had 90 days training, so, but you and I have the hustle and the drive to push through those obstacles to make sure that we find the resources that we need to find to be able to do the job that we need to do. I mean, failure just simply isn't an option with us. And we started about the same time too. You started in 2011, correct?
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
Yeah, and I started in 2012. It was April of 2012. And so now, here we are 12, 13 years later, and we figured it out, FIO, figure it out. And
I don't think I figured it all out.
well, not all of it, but I figured my lane out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so now, obviously, as we started going forward, the next step is you start to realize, well, I can make a really good living. I can make 250, 350, 400,000 a year, but how hard am I running? I'm running weekends all the time. I'm working on late nights. I'm doing 10, 12, 14-hour days on top of weekends. Yeah, you can do it, but then you start to realize that body thing is coming back into play. Yes, it's easier work, and yes, you're getting more money, more bang for your buck for the time that you're putting into it. But it also your body kind of says you can't work at this pace forever, if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's quality of life too. It isn't, the job doesn't really, I can go 18 hours without a problem that way. But as far as quality of life, not being around on the weekends, not being around for your family, that starts to get in the way. And that's actually where I kind of found the NSP thing is a little more forgiving, because most of my calls are usually kind of between 8 and 6 o'clock. I don't do a lot of after hours. My days might run long, but I don't really do a lot of stuff where I'm never getting called out really much past 10 o'clock at night. And even at that, that's a rarity.
Oh yeah, they don't call you late at night. They sure do call me late at night. Hey,
No.
our roll-up door won't. Somebody just hit it with the forklift, and it's 4 hours away.
Oh, no. Well, see, the other thing is I also have a little different situation because I'm in between two major cities. I have Providence, Rhode Island, which is 15 minutes away. The population is pretty dense there. A lot of
Yeah,
retail, malls. I mean, there's 4 or 5, 6 malls plus tons of shopping plazas. All
yeah,
the national type retailers are around. And then you got Boston. And, the population in where I am all the way to Boston is pretty dense. So, right on the Route 95 corridor. So there's just no shortage of national chain type of business in my area. So I don't know whether that made it a little more conducive for me to be able to do it versus somebody out in Colorado, out in the mountains where you don't have that type of volume that I have.
Right. Yeah. And we're kind of in a more rural area. So you never know what's going to happen. It's not, that it's kind of cuts both ways. NSPs don't have as many options, but you definitely don't have as much retail store work and as many people there, so. But for the most part, so you've tried to hire some employees before and you've had some employees. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that experience that you've had so far?
Yeah, so like I said, the first guy I grabbed out of a bike shop, he was a bike shop manager, and I was like, oh, that might be cool. We can kind of blend his managerial skills of running a bike shop in the retail sector, and maybe I can, eventually get a shop going. But he just didn't seem to overall be into it once we got rolling, so he was kind of short-lived. Um, then I'm trying to think who I grabbed next. I think it was a painter, and this guy he could fix anything. He was amazing. Um, he actually used to run heavy equipment like yourself, Wayne. So he
Yeah.
could kind of do everything, but um, kind of like still needed kind of a nervous guy, not one to go out and put himself on the, put himself out there. So
Right.
um, it was tough to send him out to jobs by himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he
Yeah. I
picked stuff
understand
up
that.
pretty quickly, and it just wasn't going quick enough. And he was still kind of doing his side painting and stuff like that, and running machinery. He was kind of self-employed to begin with, so we were kind of trying to juggle that as well.
Right,
Um,
and that's just, I mean, at least for me, that really isn't gonna work, if somebody needs to come in, I'm expecting them, like, I'm training them, like, the guy I got now, finally, and just to kinda catch people up a little bit, we're sharing stories of how employees have been working. I have finally found somebody who's been with me for, like 2.5 years now, and he's my lead tech. He basically takes the calls, schedules everything, builds his own schedule, and he's doing the Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, the rekeys, the this, the that, the main bulk of the work. And then it kind of allows me to float in and work on the business, not so much in it all the time. But if there's a lockout that needs to be ran or a quick emergency, call or something here or there, I can go do that, and I can go bid some of those bigger jobs out. I can go seek some of the jobs out for like city municipalities, and then it also frees me up so I can go and do my training, because people know that I fly all over the country. We teach for like Banner Solutions. We go out to IML Trade Show. We follow a LOA around, and I just have a lot of travel that I do too. So that's just not really possible without having somebody that's here to take care of the core customer base. You know what I mean? So it's taken a while to get there. And I just wanted, when we were talking the other day, I know so many people out there are frustrated with employees. And I just want to tell people it took 10 or 11 or 12 people to get the one person to actually stick and stay and be self motivated and start doing what I needed them to do. And Josh is now my lead tech. He's great. He's, I mean, he helps train the new employees. He did everything that I needed to do, but it took so many people. It took so many failures to do that. And we were talking on the phone about what it takes to actually train an employee. I mean, it's a time investment. It's a total loss on payroll, because I have to pay them. I have to pay them minimum wage to ride around in the truck with me and learn. Um, that's just kind of where we're at. Um, the We've got some questions over here. Brian, or let's see, Newhouse Lock and Key says, "How are you doing, Brian? Do you know who that is?"
no,
Okay, well, it
unless I
looks like,
unless I met him at one of the conventions somewhere along the way.
oh, he knows Brian in the chat field over here.
Oh,
Gotcha. I see. Okay, good. But it's taking the time to train somebody for a minimum of a couple months. You're going to have them in the truck with you every single day for at least 30 days. And then maybe they can be left on a job to do some simple basic rekey stuff. It takes probably 90 days to really get somebody to where they can go out in a truck, talk to a customer, book the job, go execute the job, even something as basic as a rekey or a lock repair or a deadbolt installation, do the job efficiently and effectively, bill the customer, and then go out the day throughout their schedule. It takes that 90-day or more time investment to get there. And you've kind of found that to be true too. How many people have you gone through and trained so far?
I think so far I'm probably into probably about 5. My guy, I currently have a guy with me right now. He would be pushing 3 years in March, but he's leaving in January to become a police officer. He's taking off to the academy. He was kind of like a multitasker because I was kind of really using him for he had graduated college, and I was really kind of leaning on him to do more of the admin, where I was going to be more the field guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't really have a strong mechanical aptitude background, but he was learning. I mean, he definitely, where he is now, it stinks that I'm losing him. But we definitely grew the business. Like we definitely easily added like $100,000 worth of revenue,
Yeah.
from where we were. So it was good. It's just, it's like now at the point we were probably ready to add another guy, to grow, to make another jump.
Yeah.
That's when I lose them. So now it's like,
Now you're back to square one.
I was planning on shooting for $500,000, and now I'm going back to 250. You know what I mean? It's kind of like 2 steps forward, or I mean, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe even more than that. It feels like sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt that too. And just when, I had 2 employees, I've had 2 employees 3 times. And each time, just when you get there, just when you have 2 trucks and 2 employees trained and they're both out on the road, boy, something happens. Boom. They stop showing up for work. They stop, with the work ethic. Things just start happening. Somebody else offers them a job for more money, and they go chase that dollar for something else. And the work climate is changing. I mean, it really, really is. Just offering somebody a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job for an hourly wage or even a salary wage just doesn't work anymore in this particular industry or this particular field. We were talking, what started us talking is watching some of these other podcasts out there and what these landscaper guys are doing, and some of the other businesses, plumbing, trash removal or junk removal. I mean, these are hot topic businesses where people are just taking people off the street, and they're training them, and they're getting them lined out, and they're getting them into it. And really, the big key difference is, and what's really kept my technician, is a difference in philosophy. Number one, I actually don't have employees. I have teammates. I have a teammate. Josh is my teammate. And the difference is an employee is going to clock out, and he's going to show up a little bit late. He or she is going to show up a little bit late every day. They're not really going to care about your truck or your tools. They're going to leave a little early. They're always looking to just edge whatever they can take back out. That is how the typical employee works in my mind. A teammate shows up early, shows up on time, is ready to go, treats your stuff like it was their stuff, looks out for you and your company similar to the way that you do. And the sooner that people start grasping that concept and start treating people like a teammate, like we're playing for the Super Bowl, like we're playing for the championship ring, and that we start working together like that, that's when we know that we've got somebody who's good. And that's how we know that we've got a teammate as opposed to just your average employee. And the other thing is actually making sure that you understand their financial needs. How often does an employer actually ask an employee, what are your financial needs and wants? Where do you want to be? Where are you headed, and where are you going? And what do you want to do with this particular situation? Are you just waiting for the next buck to just come by and chase it and leave me high and dry? Or is there some way we can work it out to where, hey, like I started working and doing this with my teammate, with Josh. Hey, here's your base salary, right? That's the first thing is get them stable and get them certainty and get them secured. Here's your base salary. Okay. This is where we're going to, at bare minimum, this is what you're going to get. And then after hours calls, I will pretty much split those with you. I split them 60-40. And the reason I do it 60-40 instead of 50-50 is because they're running my vehicle. He gets to take my vehicle home. He gets to use my fuel, my tools. I pay for everything. Fuel, tires, insurance, oil changes, everything gets paid for by me and the company. So I figure that 10% difference covers that gap. And so it's what I consider 50-50. 50% goes into his pocket, 50% goes into my pocket, 10% goes to the vehicle and just keeping the wheels on the bus and keeping everything running. And now, hey, when there's a $300 lockout at 2 a.m, all of a sudden he wants to go run that call because he knows he's going to get a chunk of that. And if he doesn't want it, it's not mandatory. That's the other thing too, is I don't enforce it and I don't make it mandatory either. So I really hope there's some other shop owners out there who are listening to this and actually starting to take this into consideration. The other thing that I've done too is if Josh brings me a good job, like if he goes out there and he's talking, maybe he's working at one location and all of a sudden they ask him, hey, do you guys do exit devices or do you do door operators or do you electronic access? We have a minimum, a minimum job requirement. And if he meets that, and actually gets the job, brings it in, bids the job, executes the job, and we get paid for that job, I actually give him a percentage of that job. So that way he's incentivized to go ahead and actually continue to bring that work in. And I want to give it to him. I want to reward people who want to work and do their job and do their job competently. I want to put more money in his pocket when that happens. So tell me some of your thoughts on that.
No, I mean, that's pretty much, I've kind of gone the same route because at least for being a small business and not having like 50 employees, it's probably a little more easy to hand out that type of responsibility because you can really, you're with the person, you're seeing them, you're connected with them, where if he's just out running around and you have no real connection with him, it would be tough to really see how well he's performing. So I've kind of done the same thing. Basically, my guy leaving wasn't a money issue. I don't think he had the passion, probably after the first year, and then he probably stuck it out because he was making good enough money and then saw another opportunity come up through a friend that said, hey, I'm a cop. You want to be in? Gave him all the good stories about being a cop. So that's kind of piqued his interest. So that's why I think he's leaving. That it wasn't so much leaving for more money. It was more a job that he wasn't really 100% into. And that's what I was wondering, your guy, Josh, what was his background prior to locksmithing?
Whose?
The guy, Josh, you have working for you.
He was working, he's former military, and then he was working for a private
okay.
security
So
company.
he was like working security and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just wondering also where do we draw from the pool of talent? Like what type of guys would cross over well from another industry? Because there's really not a large pool of locksmiths to draw from.
Right. And
I don't know if carpenters.
I don't think there's an industry. I don't think there's there's not a pool. Like there's not just like a pool of people in this industry that, or XYZ industry that just, you can come, get them. You know what I mean? We actually ran into him while me and another person were working on an electronic access job, and he was one of the security guards there and just kind of asked a lot of questions, seemed really interested. Didn't seem like he was real happy with what was going on in his current situation, and told him we were looking for somebody. We had just had somebody quit. So, hey, if you want to try it out, here's the deal. Come try it out. And he's loved it. And, he's been able to be his own person. He's been able to basically run his own schedule, run his own truck the way he wants to run it. It gave him a certain amount of independence that he wanted and needed. You know what I mean? And I think that really also stands out as well. Like if you can offer somebody, hey, I can give you something to where I don't hover. You know what I mean? I do not micromanage. I hate micromanaging. I don't want to micromanage. I want to be able to say, here's the job, go do it. And then it just know it's getting done. Oh, you run into a problem? That's fine. I'll come help with that problem. If there's a problem, that's not a big deal at all. But that's, that's just where we're at with that is making sure the job environment also goes along with those other things. I mean, after COVID and everybody started working at home, this has been a problem across all of the workforce trades. Nobody wants to get out and get sweaty and get a nasty attic anymore. Nobody wants to get out and actually do some work. They'd all sit behind a computer. They'd all rather sit behind a computer and type and clack away or start their own business. You got money flowing from everywhere.
Oh yeah,
And
no, just
do the
definitely
work.
the gig business between driving Uber, YouTube. There's a lot of different ways to earn a living these days.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think that all combining, it looks as though the economy is probably going to be headed downwards, at least in my personal opinion. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to open that can of worms here, but it doesn't it looks like something's got to give, and I'm betting we'll start seeing a shift of influx of people looking and seeking out jobs again here in the next couple years, most likely.
No, yeah, I'm pretty much on par with that view that it's definitely softening, which is leaving me in a little bit of an issue now because I have another kid lined up who's graduating high school, who's worked with me a few days here and there, and he can't come on until he graduates in May. So that's going to leave me from January to May without a guy, and I'm like, oh, do I grab another guy in between and see if I can get, an extra guy up and running.
Right.
Um, but I also don't want to make an investment and find out that I have to let, one of them go, or even worse, let both of them go after you make the investment into training them. So, because at 5, 6 months, you're probably getting a guy that can start running, some jobs anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
and you've paid them that whole time, and you're I mean, maybe I mean, I find that even in training, it actually slows me down. I'm not
oh, it,
even as fast as I could be because I have to slow down to show the process. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. All of that stuff. And it actually even slows me down, and I'm paying their wages and, so it's
no,
it's definitely a
I
huge
I
investment.
fully agree with that. That's what I sit there and go. I'm like running out there, and I'm like literally just taking hourly money out of my pocket to train somebody up. Now I forgot who I came across. Somebody one day told me that I think if you have some type of program, at least the state of Massachusetts, you can try and claw back some money for intern apprenticeship training or something. I have to look into it. I'm not sure where there has to be an approved program or something like that, but where the state will actually kick in and pay, maybe 50% of their wages, which would be
Oh,
a
good.
nice, it would definitely soften the pain. Um,
Right, exactly, exactly. So, well, I hope people have really kind of listened to this a little bit and just kind of thought about it. And really, one of the main things that I've contributed to my success is I never only look into our industry to find answers, especially when it comes to business, because actually, the locksmith industry and the security industry is usually one of the last people to kind of catch up, to kind of get on board with what's going on. Usually the electricians, the plumbers, the junk removal guys, the mechanics, a lot of these other skilled labor type places, landscapers, all of those businesses tend to jump on the electronic invoicing faster. They jump on the field management services faster. They jump on these new ways of kind of including people and profit sharing and structuring things to where the owner doesn't just get all of the money, but it gets spread out a little bit more throughout the team members, and they feel like they're more part of the team. Therefore, they want to give more and they want to work harder. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, that's definitely like, I was telling Wayne a story. I was looking for a lawnmower and came across a few landscapers on the internet, and these guys were dialed with the information they had, and how the, cost of it, customer acquisition and stuff that, I mean, I don't think many of us think about cost of customer acquisition. And then you got us with, if it's a lockout, that's a one and done.
Right.
You're probably not going to pull where, landscaping, you're probably going to that customer's house minimum once a year. If not, if you have the mowing, you're there every week for 6 months, and then you might get snow removal and fall cleanup. So like they can afford to lose a little in the marketing end to get that customer, but I don't know whether we can do that. And the other thing is like the volume of work that's out there. It just in locksmithing, it's kind of like not every customer every day needs a locksmith. So trying to find that customer, I don't think is as easy to do. And then when you're also competing against the scammers who are much more astute at managing Google and beating you to the job
Right.
every time.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
That's
and
part
e-
of
and even the Yelps and things like that, the Angie's List, I did all those, and they're selling the leads off to five other locksmiths. So now
it.
now you pay $20 for a lead thinking it's yours, and then you find out that they sold it out to five other locksmiths. Like it's
Right.
like
Right.
kind of not, you weren't exclusive with them either. So that some of that, the way the marketing worked was not, I just kind of really, that kind of left a poor taste in my mouth in dealing with a lot of those companies that, they made it like they were saving you, but they were literally, you know, sending out
Feeding.
the same job to your customer, your
Yeah. Yeah.
competitor.
Yeah, they do. They do. And then, the Google listings, I mean, we see it all the time. We have the Facebook group Locksmith Nation over there. You see people, their account gets taken down all the time. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to, show people how to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and some of these other avenues so that they can kind of get diversified. And then we've also talked about having maintenance contracts. Somebody just asked on the chat section, how do we get more business when times are slow? The very first answer that I give is you're 10 times more likely to get a customer or get a job from somebody you've already worked for before than a cold lead or a brand new customer. So anytime times are slow, the best thing you can do is go back through your QuickBooks file or go back through your customer list or your current invoices over the last year and just start reaching back out to those people. Hey, we did this job for you back in XYZ date. How's everything going? Just wanted to give you a friendly follow up. Is there anything else we can do? Do you need another electronic deadbolt installed, or do you need another door installed with some electronic access? That's usually going to be the best way because you already have rapport built with them. They know that you did a good job and they know that you're going to do a good job in the future. So that's really a good way to kind of help keep things going there. That would be my first instinct there. And then the other thing is just really start advertising and start playing with some of these ads. Throw an ad out there on Facebook that says deadbolt installations, 199 or whatever it is. I'll even throw it out there and like do the main thing, the deadbolt, and almost lose money or do it at cost, knowing that they're going to want it rekeyed to their other keys. And then that's going to lead to, oh, well, we have this multi-point door that hasn't been working just right for a while. And then we have this mortise body lock, or we have these other issues throughout the house that we've been having issues with. Can you fix those as well? And then all of a sudden, boom, now you turned a $200 invoice or a $100 invoice into a $400 or $500 invoice. That's some of the business tips and techniques that I give a lot of my coaching clients as well, and a lot of the other people that I talk with. What do you have going on? Like if you're trying to drum up business, what do you do?
I've been lucky not to have to really do a lot of that, but I will say when I was in the residential, I was really surprised, or not just residential, but all of the direct to consumer without the third party stuff involved. I was really surprised that after a couple of years, I was getting a lot of the customers calling me back. They bought a new house. Their son moved out, and they need their place rekeyed or deadbolts out. So it was kind of neat to see that 3-4 years out, these customers that I didn't expect to ever see again were calling me back or putting my name out to relatives. And that's when I really kind of start to take off on that end. But then, like I said, I always just go down the same path of, I like the subcontractor type of style for myself, at
Right.
least until I find somebody to manage that end of the business of returning emails, phone calls. Because it just, like, like you were saying you were doing, I was wondering how, like, you put all the weight on your employee Josh to do all the work. Now you got one guy out there working, and you're not out there generating revenue, you
Well,
know,
I still run calls every
but
single day.
but
It's just
you
not as
can't be
much.
doing 40 hours a week out there, and, 25 hours a week doing other stuff. So
Right.
you had to pull back at some point, I'm assuming.
Right.
I know there's people crazy enough that will work 80 hours a week, but
I've done it
um
for years. Yep, done it for years. So yeah, it's just finding that healthy balance, and then my key and my kind of unicorn here is two employees, two trucks, two teammates out in the field all the time. That way, because even with just one, Josh is great, but he's a person, he's a human. He gets sick. He has things that happen, has personal issues. That something in the house breaks, and he's got to take care of it, and he's got people and stuff too. So
so do
um,
you have two employees right now, or just
no, I don't. No,
okay.
we had over the summer, and then we lost one again. So it just happens.
So you're back on the search as well.
Yeah, yeah. We're just kind of doing our thing here, and just keeping going and keeping chugging along. The number one thing that I'd like to get out there to people is, you hear my story. I go through 10, 11, 12 people to find one person who stuck around for 2 years. You've gone through several people. Just don't give up. Really, you just have to keep pushing forward. And I know it's just this huge deflation when you get somebody trained, they finally start working and bringing in money, and then they either chase a dollar or they quit or something happens. And then you got to start all over back at square one, put that Indeed ad out there, or, start keeping your ears to the ground and start all over from scratch. But you know what? It's really about just putting one foot in front of the other. You may take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but that's a whole lot better than just taking 2 steps backwards every time, or just not making any forward progress whatsoever. So that's my 2 cents on it. We're coming up on about 45 minutes here. What are your final thoughts on this? What's your plan here for the future? And what do you think in summary of this
Well,
employee
I was shooting for the $1 million company.
company?
Um, and I thought I was probably, on the way, where I had my guy that was willing to do the admin side, the invoicing, like, literally, that he took all that off my plate. It was great. I mean, I could go away. I took like 3 vacations last year, 10-day vacations, and it was nice. Like, he took care of everything. Like, he
Right.
was a teammate. It wasn't the situation was the teammate. He was 26 years old, 25 years old, and I was like, I'm 53, dude. I'm out of here in like 10 years. Like, this kind of can be yours if you want, if you're capable of doing it and you want to do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that was the direction I was going. I was trying to bring in more or less my successor.
Right.
Um, but I'm selective, and I'm really looking for A players.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
They gotta want it, and you wanna see your baby succeed too. That's the other thing is you wanna pass it on to somebody, and if it's not gonna be your kids, you wanna pass it on to somebody who's gonna treat it with respect. You know that you've built this up and your clients really count on you and your type of service for this. So, you just wanna see it live, and you wanna see it live on for a while. And that's all we can do. So hopefully everybody out there, you've heard two different sides of the story. You've heard two different people's story on this. The number one thing is just don't give up. Keep trying, keep training that new person. Go out there. I know it feels like you're getting kind of, kicked in the dirt every time that happens, but just keep at it and don't give up. That's the biggest thing is just keep at it and just bring that next person on. Eventually you will find that person who is going to be on that same playing field as you, and you'll find that teammate who's going to mesh well, and you'll find that person who's going to help elevate your business, and there could be an opportunity where they could take it over one day. So that's really great. Thanks for joining me today, Kevin. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything else for our audience out there?
and now I think that kind of covers it. I mean, yes, it's definitely a struggle. It's definitely not easy. And I mean, I was kind of told you might have to go through 100 people to get that guy. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it looks like
exactly.
I got about another 90 to go.
Exactly. Well, I really felt that this was special to kind of get this feeling out there that, you're not alone. Other people that are out there that are going through the same thing with employees, you're not alone. Kevin's gone through it. I've gone through it. The main thing is the difference between the people that succeed and don't succeed. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Find that next person. Your next employee, who might be your next teammate, might be the next person you hire. So with that, we're going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kevin. Thank you to the audience out there. Everybody have a
Yep.
wonderful day. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week, every Monday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
All right, Wayne. Catch you on the next one.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.